Okay. Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Raphael Calamat. Raf and Mike here with you live. You know, it's been a crazy weekend. Mike, Nick Taylor becomes the 2023 Canadian Open champ. You know,
History.
History. Mark Zecchino said it best on SXM. History.
Absolutely. Pat Fletcher, 69 years ago, won at Point Grey Golf Club out here in Vancouver. And today we're talking about Nick Taylor. What a week. Starts off with a 75 and walks home with the trophy. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. Now, Pat Fletcher, members over at Royal Montreal Golf Club when I was an assistant there. They run the Fletcher distribution. Their family's been riding this, like you said, for 69 years. And Point Grey Golf Club, what a wonderful place to win. But it's been a long time. But an actually naturally born Canadian, it's actually been 109 years, Mike. 109 years since Carl Keffer won at the Toronto Golf Club. Just a little bit of history.
Wow.
Something interesting to note. Go. And Nick Taylor's only the second Canadian, naturally born Canadian to win the Open. And we've been waiting for this for a very long time. Mike Weir, famously in 2003, lost to a playoff with Vijay Singh.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. That was a real heartbreaker. Watched all of it. You felt for Mike. Seeing Nick take it this time. It's 21 Canadians in the field. And Hadwin, Dillette, everyone standing around waiting and watching. Even Justin Rose was there. All these players were pulling for Taylor. They recognized the historic of magnitude of this win, and they were truly pulling for him. And what a playoff with Tommy Fleetwood. I'm a fan of Tommy as well. So, had he won, I could have accepted that. But I'm sorry, you got one of our fellow countrymen. And, he played on the VGT out here. Shout out to Fraser Mulholland, who's got to be proud here of almost having an unofficial child go out there and win. I know Fraser's proud as hell about Nick winning, and I've been lucky to be in the same field as Nick and Hadwin. Obviously a different flight, but it's amazing. I've been lucky to meet Nick and Hadwin, briefly here and there around the BTT, and both of them great, nice guys. It's funny, we keep saying Hadwin, because he kind of stole the show.
Yeah.
He's blowing up social media for being tackled, not wearing his lanyard. Went to douse Nick Taylor, as you've all seen it, and got flattened. Hopefully he's okay. There's no injuries, because we want to see him perform this week in the US Open. But what a weekend for Canadian golf.
Just a warm thank you to Golf Canada and everybody involved. I did have my media passes, had the opportunity to walk inside the ropes, be in the media tent, be part of this history. And it was a wonderful opportunity. Got a chance to talk with our new friend, Rick Young, walk a couple of holes and see Rory play on that Sunday, see Nick play, see Weir play. I grew up watching Mike Weir. So nice to see him make the cut. And like you said, him being on the green there with Graham Dillette and Adam Hadwin and all the boys, pretty incredible. This marks his 35th birthday almost for Nick Taylor. He's been out there for a while. This is his third win on the PGA Tour, most notably him winning at the AT&T, and earlier this year losing at the Phoenix Open to Mr. Scotty Scheffler. So lots to talk about, Mike. I don't even know where to begin. So I'm talking to Michael Buki. He's over, not at ECS agency where he usually is. He's at home. So am I. I'm in Oakville, Ontario. He's in Vancouver. And we're just waiting for Mr. John Feinstein to come on, prolific writer of sports and golf. And so we're just standing by. I know he's busy during the US Open right now at the LA Country
Yeah,
Club. So we'll see if he comes on.
he's there now, and so we're waiting for him to come on. If he doesn't, we'll make arrangements to get him back. And he's one of the busiest guys in golf. It's fun reading Wikipedia and some general information about John. He's got 44 books published, which is insane. That's a lot of books.
I think they updated that late. I think it's 48 now on his website.
Is it 48?
Because I wrote down 44 as well, and then I saw on his website it's updated to 48.
Okay, so yeah, Wikipedia. Crazy. Someone's get in there and update that. So if it doesn't work out today, we'll make arrangements to get him back. It is U.S. Open week, so these guys are busy, and who knows, something's probably come up, but not a big deal. He was looking forward to coming on the pod. We will have him back, but in the meantime, we'll pivot back over to the Canadian Open, just because Nick Taylor, brings it home. This is bigger than Mike Weir winning the Masters, which is hard to say, because that was just such an epic moment for Canadian golf and Canadian sports.
In modern history, I think that's where it is, Mike. In modern golf history, or in our time, that was the biggest Canadian win ever, certainly.
And I think the door is open for more Canadians. We've never had this many Canadian golfers on the professional level, male and female. Golf Canada is doing a stellar job in supporting our athletes right now, and golf is so popular. We have a lot of good young talent coming in out of Canada. So this is just the start. We've got the Women's Open coming up later in the season. Obviously we don't have as many female pros on the LPGA at the moment, but I think that's going to change in the next couple seasons, next 2 to 5 years. I believe we're going to see a lot more female golfers out there.
Let's give Brooke Henderson some kudos, because
absolutely,
she obviously has won many events on tour. She's trying to reach win number 12. She's won many big tournaments. Obviously, she doesn't get as much coverage as the men do, and that's what that's changing slowly, right? We're trying to, she's not as much as a household name as someone like Mike Weir, but I believe she will be. She will be. She's a great player. Mm-hmm.
Anyone in the golf circle who knows their golf knows who Brooke Henderson is and knows how strong her game is. And she's young. What is she? Do you know off the top of your head? Early 20s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like at 22, if I was to drop a bet right now, I'd say that she's got a lot of gas in the tank. So she's got, depending on her personal goals and family goals, she easily has 10 competitive years. Like Annika years back chose to take a break from touring golf to start a family, which is totally understandable. So depending on Brooke's personal goals, she could play professional golf as long as she wants. And so, obviously chasing down Annika would be, an insane goal in terms of her winning numbers. But I could see Brooke getting 25 wins easily.
Mike, I don't even know where to begin. Should I begin with the fact that where does this rank? You started talking about this a little bit. Where does this rank in the modern golf history, or our generation? I've been to, I would say, the top 3 moments in men's Canadian golf. I was at the President's Cup in 2007 when Tiger Woods played Mike Weir, and Mike Weir won.
I was there too. Yeah, that was big.
That was huge for Canadian golf. in general, the growth of the game and how things happened in Canada. Obviously, Mike Weir almost winning at that Canadian Open, but certainly the Masters was the moment. And now this, like, where does this, I think you're right. It supersedes everything. And Ian Leggett, our friend Ian, who's down in Florida right now, mentioned on Twitter, he said, what impact does this have for Canada and the kids playing the game today? What kind of trickle down effect will it have?
That's a good question, because there will be an effect. You got to think of all the kids watching this, and they may not understand the magnitude of this win, with being 69 years and 110 years, as you said earlier in the pod, for a naturally born Canadian. But this will definitely have an effect, and it's got to inspire a lot of kids, whether they're teens or at the university level. This is going to push those players to work a little harder and try to follow Nick's footsteps. It's just unbelievable. So I think it's hard to measure, but someone out there, the data geeks, get on it, because there will be more Canadians coming, and this just lights it on fire. And and like you said, Nick's had 3 wins. Bring home your national championship. It was a strong field. There's no doubt about it. One of the stronger fields in recent history for the Canadian Open. We had a lot of the top players there, and we've always been plagued with a bad schedule placement with the Canadian Open for the last couple decades, really. But
and the news, Mike, the news, the live news last year, now this year with the merger.
Yeah, but at least the merger was last week, not this week, right? So it didn't totally overshine the tournament. But our placement here, being right before the U.S. Open, we're able to draw a good field in preparation for the U.S. Open too. To play an event with course setup like that, because it was a unique golf course, very undulated, some deep rough, and I think it was a good preparation for the U.S. Open, and as it was last year. So at this moment, the schedule placement is okay, but I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it land in a better place on the schedule, which I know is a logistical challenge on the PGA Tour side, but the last couple of years, the Canadian Open has been a standout event. So, we're proud to see that.
This venue is quite incredible. Let's talk about the venue in just a moment. I just want to reflect on what you said with how it's going to affect the players, and how comments like from Ian Leggett, how is it going to grow the game? Golf Canada has a program to get 20 to 30 players on the major professional tours, both men and women, by 2030, to get 30 players up playing. When I was in the professional golf management program over at Humber College back in 99 and 2000, Golf Canada had a goal, and we talked about this with Bob Boschman, who was coincidentally the director of instruction over at Oakdale Golf and Country Club, that they wanted to get 5 players by the end of 2010 into the top 100. That never happened.
Yeah,
but we've seen a growth in the last several years with players like everybody from Sloan to Taylor, obviously, and
Penderus. We've got so many.
Kern, Dillette. I mean, the list goes on. We had Jared Dutois, who's pushing to still get on. And there's a lot of players, a lot of Cockrell who's over in Europe playing the DP World Tour, who's doing really well. There's lots of players, so that's really interesting. And to go to the golf course, this is a composite style golf course. There's 3 nines out there. There's 27 holes. What's really interesting about this course, the first 2 nines, I think, are designed by Knutson, and the other one's designed by Penderick, I believe, was another professional back in the day, situated in downtown Toronto. you don't see this on television, but it's very undulating. I felt like a mountain going up some of those
Yeah.
elevated greens. What did you
Yeah, it
think of the
looks like
course,
it,
Mike?
but yeah, the TV lies a little bit because it's a tougher walk than what it appears, but you can still see the undulation and in the detail in the course. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's in a urban environment, so it's a very lush, exclusive golf club in one of Toronto's not so hot areas. So it is a unique, much like Augusta, really. When you think about it, we make
Yes.
comparisons to undulation, and Augusta National isn't in the most affluent area itself, but like the course. Did you say it was open in 1910 or somewhere around there, right?
1926.
1926. So we're pushing 100 years on that. So 97-year-old golf course. So in the Greater Toronto area has a whole bunch of like very old classic golf courses. You mentioned Toronto Golf Club, and the previous naturally born Canadian one at Toronto Golf Club. I played it, and it is like the clubhouse. Of course, the
Yeah.
one is unbelievable. The clubhouse is just got that old school, elegant look to it. And let me just tell a quick story about the locker room in the Toronto Golf Club. There's a lottery system. There's I believe about 8 or 10 lockers that are actually a small room with a
Yeah.
sink and a cot in your locker, and the members are all on a waiting list to receive one of these special lockers, and it is unbelievable. I was lucky to get a tour of the entire clubhouse, and it was just like a kid in a candy store walking through a venue of that historical value.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of them. Marine Drive, Shaughnessy, Point
Hey,
Grey, all of these.
you and I played at a golf course called the Mississauga Golf and Country Club that hosted
That's
the
right.
Canadian Open,
And
right?
that's another classic venue, over 100 years old, and very similar to Toronto Golf Club with that kind of Tudor architecture style and rich and elegant inside, and you just like enjoy the facilities of these places. So and Canada's got a lot. We're like 2,700 golf courses approximately, and per capita we're one of the
We
golf
we have yeah
richest golf nations.
we have more golf courses per capita than any other other country in the world, and that just got surpassed by Japan.
Yeah.
Uh, they're
Well,
golf nuts as well, and they based on their population and their land mass and the amount of golf courses they have. But we've got just over 2,000 golf courses in Canada, and it's growing. It's growing. It came to a standstill
yeah,
back in the late 2000s when things crashed again, early 2000s. And this revitalization of this sport is just incredible because of COVID. We've got
yeah.
COVID to thank for that. But I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated. Well, back to the Open, Mike. Back to the Open. The schedule, it falls just before the US Open this year. They're over at LA Golf and Country Club. This was a little bit of an overlooked event, and it has been for years. They've been
Yeah.
played around on the schedule, and now a lot of the top players didn't show up, although we had a great field of
It was a good
156
field.
players.
Yeah.
Great field. Fleetwood played really well, with honorable mention to him on that 4-hole playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Canada showed the rest of the world of how important it is to just play golf. No merger between the PGA supersedes the game of golf. And I think this is
Yeah.
what this game showed this weekend, that the storyline was taken over by great golf, the fans, amazing play. Nick Taylor making a 72-foot putt on the 4th playoff hole on hole 18. They went 18, 18, 9, the par 3 back to 18. It's a funny hole, 499-yard par 5, really weird hole. You can't really go for it in two with that
It
ravine and the
is.
elevated green. But
It's a
it
unique tee
worked.
shot, right? But it delivered drama. And Nick to drop a 70-something foot eagle putt to win the Canadian Open in a 4-hole playoff is insane.
Nobody saw
Uh,
it.
no,
You know, you just wanted to bring it in close enough so that it would force him to try to make the putt, right?
yeah,
And then if he missed, he would win. Nobody thought it would go in. It
no,
was
no, and
wet. It was up that hill.
yeah,
You know,
no golfer like you're trying to make a putt of that length, like, but you're trying to lag it in. If you were 3-4 feet away on a putt
yeah,
of that length, you would be happy with it.
absolutely.
But to make it with everybody, the President's Cup captain and fellow Canadian Mike Weir watching with the whole entourage of other
Of
Canadians
20,000
all right
people.
there, plus the gallery, and how many people were watching that, not just in Canada, but it's a PGA Tour event, so there's millions of people watching and probably millions of Canadians tuning into that. We were on a golf course ourselves and checking in every couple minutes on the phone to see what happened. I knew I didn't care about not watching it at the moment. Usually I want to watch the replay, but I needed to know.
Yeah.
And we there's no way to keep that one secret with the text messages coming in and news alerts and all that. So I knew I was going to watch the replay later, but every Canadian golf fan was pinned to whatever medium they're using to catch that event. They were pinned to it, and it's amazing. So again, congrats to Nick, congrats
Yeah.
to Canadian golf. We've got President's Cup coming up now. We've got there's so many Canadians. Like we could have 3 or 4 Canadians on that team, and will we?
And where is it? It's over at Royal Montreal Golf
That's right.
Club, 2024, my old stomping ground.
Yeah,
Mike Weir being the captain. It's so serendipitous in the sense that he was like the player playing Tiger Woods back in
yeah,
2007. It returning there 20 years later is just wild on so many levels. Mike, we're going to be there. I'm hoping that we're going to be there. We're going to make things happen, and it's going to be wonderful. The chanting. Did you hear everybody going ole ole
oh
ole? Now
yeah,
that's usually something you hear at the Ryder Cup, and it's not.
yeah,
It's a non-American thing to do. I think
yeah,
the Americans were surprised that they were singing that chant. The Canadians were, but it's sort of an international chant, except in the
yeah.
US, right?
Well,
And so
it is.
they weren't chanting for Fleetwood, and
No,
inside of singing the Canadian national anthem and the Olays, I think Fleetwood and his caddy was pretty distracted.
well, it'd be hard not to be distracted by that when you're trying to bear down and compete, and the crowd is reacting to Fleetwood's missed putts and all that. But at the same time, he's got to understand that there's a competitor competing for his national championship. So
Yeah.
of course the fans are going to lean towards the Canadian. But in some cases that feeds players. Like, let's throw a hypothesis in there, like a player like Patrick Reed or even a Brooks Koepka would feed off the negative energy being cast toward them, and might have been able to find that extra gear.
Mm.
And Fleetwood played a unbelievable golf to get into that playoff. And like I said earlier, had Fleetwood won, I've always been a fan of his. Could have accepted that. It would have felt awful for Nick to have lost in that playoff. Having VJ and done the same to Weir, a couple decades, almost a couple decades back. So I would have really felt for Nick, and so happy that Canada got this gift yesterday. So yeah,
Honorable mention to Rory McIlroy and Corey Connors, but they just kind of fell off the map, didn't play too well on that final day. The crowds for those two were just incredible. I remember walking with Rick Young on holes 1, 2, and 2 and 3 on the final day, and I was like, I got to go and see Nick Taylor. I was with him on the first tee with Nick Taylor, and there was a buzz in the air, and I hate to pat myself on the back, Mike. If anybody goes to our Twitter page, the Golf Podcast, I did a prediction, and I said I'm going to sound like Ben Crenshaw in '99 at the Ryder Cup and say I have a good feeling about this. And I put that in quotation marks. A Canadian will win our national open. Now that's a bold prediction. I should have put some money on the players, but I wasn't going to put down 21 bets on 21 players. But I had a feeling. And then on the final day, I was posting about Nick, and there was a buzz in the air. It was just incredible. And Nick just takes it. He does. Well, he did so well. You know,
just to rub a little salt on you there, Raf, do you want to know what his odds to win were?
Go ahead.
Do you want to take a guess?
No, go ahead.
Plus 6,600.
Oh, great!
Right, that would have been a nice bet to throw $100 on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, this is the beauty about golf, right? You can never, it is so hard to predict. Like,
yeah, a top 10, maybe a top 5 or a top 10 or a fantasy pool, or, you know, those are fun to predict, or, you know, they have some fun stuff that some of the different betting sites have, like what color shirt is somebody going to wear, or,
there's some crazy ones.
Who's going to beat another player, like who's going to end up making the cut or beating another player. Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are good. And actually, I really like the DraftKings team lineups because it doesn't necessarily matter picking the winner. You're picking for birdie points and par points, eagle points, and all that. So you can have a good time while you're watching golf and watching your fantasy teams, you know, battling it out. So I really like that. Other than the single bets, you know, which are, like you said, there's a lot of creative ones. But for me, that I really enjoy DraftKings. So DraftKings, you know, contact us.
Yeah. You know, when I look back at Nick Taylor and I think about all the other players, like Corey Connors made a run. He made a run this year. He made a run last year. It was low Canadian. I think Nick was the only one who was emotionally prepared to have the nerves to finish this off. He's 35 years old. He's a little bit more seasoned. He talks about, even as a junior, making putts on the green for the Canadian Open. It's kind of weird because a lot of the US players talk about, you know, the putt for the US Open or for the Masters. You think about these things, and he talks about how, you know, he dreamt of winning the Canadian Open even back then. You know, growing up watching Mike Weir, like you and I did.
Totally.
And then coming off of that loss at the Phoenix Open where nobody was cheering for him, he was in the Fleetwood position of getting booed and not cheered for. But having the crowd behind you, it elevates you unbelievably. I can't imagine what that feels like, to have 20 some odd thousand people yelling and chanting and carrying you, right?
Yeah. It's in golf, you know, I can maybe tie a relation into DJing over the years, you know, when, you know, the biggest crowd I played for is about 6,000-7,000. And you can feed off that, and you know that they give you that energy. So I couldn't even imagine, you know, playing golf and having that chaos going. I mean, yes, I can imagine it. You know, let me correct myself, but you know, actually being in it and the nerves, like, and dealing with that, because you know, like in the amateur events I played in, when you get some events when there's actually people around, and there is a feeling that you pick up from that, and it's amazing. But I just, to that scale and that magnitude of having, you know, a match that intense on extra holes and going down to battling it out, like it's just like I'm kind of getting goosebumps talking about it now.
Absolutely.
Like what a rush for Nick and for any of us.
hearing your name chanted along with the national anthem. And we're not talking about like a dozen people, thousands of people chanting, right?
Yeah.
And singing the national anthem. It would be comparable in Canada to a hockey game 7.
Yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
would be comparable to something like that. When you and I were over at the President's Cup, that final match between Mike Weir and Woods, on the 18th tee box, I couldn't even hear anything. Tiger couldn't even speak to his caddy. He was yelling because the crowd was so loud
Yeah.
and wild. And so
They
that just
were
goes to show.
our Quebec crowd is much like the New York crowd, right? Like they like
Yeah.
during the practice round on the Tuesday when we were there, and we followed Tiger for the back nine, of watching him and everybody practice. But when we came off of 18, and Tiger was walking back over to the clubhouse, he had 4 cops around him. And all you heard was everyone, "Hey Tiger, hey Tiger!" They're all trying to reach
TJ,
through the cops and like,
Tiger and
yeah,
TJ.
oh yeah,
TJ.
it was so funny. All of the the French accents and but what was interesting to see, because that's the first time I got that close to Tiger, because we had press passes thanks to you. Um, we it was intense. Like I could see why the cops were tightly walking with Tiger, because people were trying to touch him and reach through the cops, and
Yeah.
it was claustrophobic, really, because
Well, you're walking down. You're
you
walking
walk through the
down
ropes, right?
the road.
And it was very tight and narrow as they got to the clubhouse, and it's just, it makes you think, like, a guy like that can't go anywhere without getting mobbed, right?
And
Like
that's how it
imagine
was
that.
with Rory. That's how it was
Yeah,
with Rory this weekend. There's
yeah.
the whole entourage of the PGA Tour media walking with security and Golf Canada,
Hmm.
along with number of other people that are involved, which includes security. It's a
Yeah,
crazy feeling walking down between every hole down a tunnel of people 15 deep,
yeah.
and then you're
Well,
walking through and people want to give you high fives, like, so you got like random people
yeah.
giving you a high five just for being there, for being part of that.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
Rick was hilarious. I was walking with Rick Young, and Rick's like high fiving other people.
yeah.
It's just,
Well,
it was funny.
and I
It's
remember at the
funny.
President's Cup when we were there, and I intentionally wore like nicer clothes because I know we're going in with press passes and all that. And just by
Yeah.
chance, I don't know if you remember, Raf, the pants and shirt I wear were the same color as the American teams that day. Very similar colors.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it was someone handed me something to sign. I was walking through from
That's
hole to hole
funny.
when we're following Tiger. I don't know if you recall that. And
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
and same at the live event I was at last year,
At Pumpkin Ridge.
almost a year ago at Pumpkin Ridge. It's just you feel a buzz, even being on the media side with credentials, but like walking down the fairways, like they're pretty liberal about where they're allowing media to go during that event. They're a little stricter on PGA Tour, but just walking like an arm's length from Dustin and Brooks and DeChambeau, and seeing Phil with the beard and sunglasses and cruising around with these guys. And there's a rush that you get just being on the media side.
Hmm.
So
I would
I
suggest, yeah, aren't we going to suggest this to anybody who's watching or listening? Please go to an event to experience golf. It's very different, up close and personal. When you see these
yeah,
players hit balls, even just going to the driving range is an incredible experience
yeah.
to watch
The
everyone hitting shots.
It's the audio. When you hear a player of these calibers, and it doesn't matter which one, like some obviously are better than others, but any of these players out there, you hear the audio of the impact and the ball flight. It's not what you hear. Even your best bud, who's a scratch golfer, has nothing on what these tour players do, and how they strike the ball and how efficient their golf swings are. And just you listen to it, listen to how that ball sounds at impact in its flight. It's just like it's tearing through the wind,
Yeah.
and their smash factor on TrackMan when their numbers are maxed out on that. It is something to watch. So get there, get close. It is a little challenging. It's not the same as watching it on TV, but you get in there, pick your spots, be planned. It's a long day, so know that. Like, make sure you're drinking water while you're out there, and it's okay to sit and rest. Go find a spot where you can get under a tree and some shade and watch the players come by you, and then go follow players around in certain certain areas, and try to get every vantage point possible, because it is a long day. But when you catch a moment like what happened at the Canadian Open, you can be there live. The energy is incredible. So get out there, and it's not as expensive as going to a hockey game. Like Toronto Maple Leafs, Vancouver Canucks, it's hundreds of dollars to go, say, to take your family or even just one of your children or your spouse. You can spend $300, $400, $500 at a hockey game. It's not. You can get into a PGA event fairly inexpensive for a few bucks and some food.
And there's other things to do. There's
Yeah.
concerts usually on Friday and Saturday. Friday they had the Black Eyed Peas. Saturday it was Alanis Morissette. So part of the RBC Canadian Concert Series. They've got different areas where you could eat, where you could sit down, enjoy the shade. Just walk
and the
around
shows
the
are
golf course.
free. So you pay your $30 to get a ticket for the day. You get to see that show for free. That's cheaper than going to a concert. So, and they usually have good food. Any tour event I've been to, they got lots of different types of food. Whether you want just a hot dog and a beer, or whatever your options are. There's usually a ton of different options. There's good merch. And the big events,
merchandise,
the manufacturers, they're all there. They all have unique branded event merch, so you can get some hat, you name it. Just go out there and enjoy it, because it is different perspective. And it'll also help you appreciate. So when you do watch it on TV, it'll help you appreciate what's going on in terms of the production value, because you get to see how difficult it is to wander around and catch players and navigate around a golf course. But you'll appreciate what they do on TV, and how well the PGA Tour or any golf event puts together a broadcast.
We're talking Nick Taylor. We're talking Canadian Open. We're talking about going out to the golf course and enjoying some golf. Once again, Nick Taylor, at the age of 35 years old, wins the 2023 Canadian Open. First time in 69 years, the first time in 109 years a Canadian-born player has won. I'm with Michael Bleakley. He's in Vancouver. I'm in Toronto. He was born in Winnipeg, Nick Taylor. Mm-hmm. He's now 6th in the FedEx Cup. Jumps to 44th on the official world golf ranking.
That's big.
And his 3rd PGA Tour win. It really makes me proud to be Canadian, to see everybody, all the Canadians waiting for him to make the win, and seeing how nervous they were. Where else are you going to see Mike Weir changed in jeans and a hoodie, drinking a tall boy? Alongside Adam Hadwin and other players. You had Shane Lowry there supporting Fleetwood. Justin Rose was standing there. It really felt like a Ryder Cup or President's Cup. The only difference is, Mike, I've been saying this for a couple of years. I'm pretty good at predicting stuff. Maybe I've been around the sport for too long, but I said, why isn't there an event where Europe goes against international field? That wouldn't be the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup. It would be something completely different. It doesn't need to be the same format, but it would be nice to see that. It would be, and this was what this was.
This
is what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like the Canadian, the international player, going against the European Fleetwood, right? It was wild.
There's enough players to do that. So how they would schedule that would be a problem. But everyone wants to play against the US, but there is so many international golfers now that there could be an event that brings them all together, perhaps. There's the Triple Crown, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, right? That is the winner of Canadian Open, US Open, and the Open, which in North America we called the British Open for many years. We're getting away from that. There's only 6 players who have done that, and obviously Nick's got 2 more legs of that to win a crown. But Tiger Woods, Lee Trevino, Tommy Armour, Walter Hagen, Arnold Palmer, and Rory McIlroy. Very limited amount of people who have won that. And when Tiger came up to Glen Abbey, I believe he didn't realize that the Triple Crown was in existence. And you know, someone out there
I think it's
could correct me.
It's the ugliest trophy in golf. Sorry. Did you see that?
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
It's a lump. I don't know what it is actually. It looks like a huge mountain lump of whales. It weighs like a few, I don't know, 200 pounds, and it looks like it's made out of bowling ball material.
Interesting. I'm trying to find it on Google here.
Yeah, it's probably impossible to find. But again, we're talking about Nick Taylor, a historic moment for Canadian golf, him winning the 2023 Canadian Open, first Canadian since 1954, since Pat Fletcher, and of course, Carl Keffer, which is a new, revival name. Back in 1914, won a Toronto Golf Club. If you're just joining us, make sure you subscribe, you jump on, and send us some comments. Let us know what you think. Take a look at all the links that we have, both on YouTube and Spotify and Apple, and the 14 other platforms that we're on. That's it. Thanks a lot. Did you find the trophy? Thanks for listening.
I did find the trophy. There's a Getty image here, which I will let you Google it on your own. We won't snag this image because Getty is vicious if anyone uses their image.
What does it look like to you? What is it again? Is it like a mountain of whales or something? It looks like
it's it's on a small wooden block with a round globe-like figure, and it looks like people dancing on top of it. So it is a weird looking trophy. There's no doubt about it. Getty Images is selling the print for $575. So if anyone wants a picture of Lee Trevino holding it, go have at it. But only 6 people have one of these. So
hey guys, notable finishes as well. Tyrrell Hatton, he was right there. He double bogeyed one of the holes right at the end, but a T3 finish for him. Obviously Fleetwood was looking for his first PGA Tour win, even though he's won several times on the DP World Tour. So that's an honorable mention. Adam Svensson, Mackenzie Hughes, Nick Taylor, Corey Connors, all playing well. All with wins on the PGA Tour this year. I just named the 4 guys that won this year. 4 Canadians. Good.
Canadians are kicking ass on the PGA Tour right now. It's fun to see, and they're only getting better. Right, they're all quite young, so they've got years and years ahead of them. So let's hope we can see some more. But yeah, definitely make sure you throw us a subscribe. Follow us on the pod channels, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and a few Podbean, a few others. We're on a lot of them, but yeah, we appreciate any engagements, comments, good or bad. Rip us apart, go for it, and have some fun with it. Thanks a lot for listening or watching.
All right, for Michael Bleakley, I'm Raphael Calumet. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. A big warm congratulations one last time to Nick Taylor. And today is, what's the date? So it means that June 11th should be National Golf Day. That's what I declare today. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully John Feinstein will come in and we'll get things going with him with his new book called Fairy.
Okay. Right. Raf signal is dying. No, we're not off yet, but I'm signing us off now.